Well, for more analysis, I'm joined by our international affairs commentator, Doug Herbert. Welcome to the programme. Navalny's widow, let's start by talking about her. I mean, a formidable woman by anybody's standards. She says she's going to continue her husband's fight against President Vladimir Putin. So, that being the case, is it fair to say the opposition lives on?
Well, right now, first of all, you're absolutely right. She is a daunting new rival to Putin. Not new, because for years, Yulia Navalnaya, Alexei Navalny's wife, was basically a pillar of support for him. She appeared besides him in court appearances, at rallies. Wherever she could get access, she was always seen with him. She was literally by his side, standing with him in what he saw as his fight for the future and the freedom of Russia against what he saw as a vastly, systemically, endemically corrupt system. And now that he's gone, if Putin and the Russian authorities are in any way relieved that such a formidable opponent is now removed from the scene. He was already removed in the sense that he was in the Arctic Circle, but he continued to issue tweets, and he was very much rampant across social media via his lawyers. But if he thinks that he was out of the picture, we now have Yulia Navalnaya coming up. And like I said, she may prove to be just as daunting, if not more so, than her husband was, because you saw, a clip from her video. It was a 9-minute video in which she was, yes, obviously very emotional and choked up, but also very much on message. And the message is that the fight goes on. She says right now, in her exact words, were, we need more desperate. We need to fight more fiercely than before. And she was very direct about it and blunt. She says, addressing Russians, addressing the world, I know that from the perspective right now, that seems not possible. How can you be fiercer and more in these circumstances than Alexei Navalny was? But she's saying it's possible, and that's what's going to happen. And there's no reason to doubt that the will is there, because during Alexei Navalny's lifetime, he famously said in his documentary, Navalny, he was facing the camera, and he basically told people, he says, you're not allowed to give up. He saw the prospect of his own demise. He saw that his battle could lead to him conveniently disappearing, or being disappeared, so to speak. And his message was that this is more than just about me. This is a larger struggle that goes well beyond one person, transcends one person. And his wife being so much a part of his image, of his struggle, of his fight, she's probably now going to be out there, and from the initial looks of it, with redoubled fervor almost in her resolve and her determination to carry on that fight.
Okay, and all the while, people who are mourning the passing of Alexei Navalny across Russia have been cracked down on. People have been arrested, haven't they?
And this is not a new headline in Russia, but it's gotten worse. And it's gotten much worse. The so-called space for any free expression, for any civil society to voice a word of dissent, to not toe the official line. It has been shrinking and shrinking. And since now that as we approach that second year of the full-fledged invasion of Ukraine, there's literally no room. You cannot even mourn right now. These are mourners across Russia. There have been, according to OVD Info, which is a human rights group which tracks and monitors arrests in Russia and publishes it on its online site, city by city, itemizing and enumerating how many people were arrested, how many have been tried. 389 as of just before I came into the studios, in 39 cities across Russia, including some of the biggest ones, from Nizhny Novgorod to Moscow to St. Petersburg to Yekaterinburg, people being arrested. Yes, sometimes for putting down flowers, sometimes for unfurling posters in support of Navalny. And what's amazing is we've also been seeing these videos circulating on Telegram, on other social media platforms of masked thugs, people removing flowers from monuments. This is how much the Russian authorities, the Russian security forces, want to make sure that there is no visible public display of condolence, of mourning for Alexei Navalny. He remains more potent than ever, even in death right now, and even anything that smacks of sympathy, outpourings of respect, tributes, mourning, just not allowed. That counts as dissent in Russia. It counts as something that is a possible threat to Putin as he prepares elections right now for next month that could see him stay in power till 2030 and beyond, since he's changed the Constitution to allow himself to do just that.
Yeah, I mean, looking at those images as you were talking there, I mean, you'd have thought deep fear, really, and paranoia, looking at the treatment of people just mourning. I mean, how does the opposition survive under circumstances
How
like
does
that?
it survive? Well, you have Yulia Navalnaya, right? She's not backing down. I would urge my viewers, watch her video. Don't take my word for it. You can see the resolve in her face. This is a woman who is going to take this struggle on, and I believe she has that same sense of conviction that Navalny had, that even though the struggle seems like a lost cause now in today's current Russian climate, in the long run, it is not. So I see her continuing to fight. As far as the rest of the opposition, like I just said, no room for dissent right now in Russia. That space has closed. The people we have been seeing, the hundreds of people filing through these monuments to the victims of political repression under Soviet times in Russia, laying those flowers. These are very brave people, Tom, because in Russia, you can't do it. In some cities, they take your names and details when you show up. Fine, lay those flowers. We now have your name. We know who you are. They take videos of you. In many cases, they've cordoned off those monuments. So the very fact you have so many hundreds of people in this climate in Russia showing up to actually publicly mourn fearlessly for Navalny. Could you imagine if there weren't such restrictions, if people weren't afraid of what their neighbors might say, of what the consequences might be for their families and their jobs if they were to publicly show up on the street and mourn and protest? Could you imagine how many more might be out on the streets right now? So to me, this is a sign that the spirit of civic society is still alive, but it just has been really, for now, suppressed and squashed. It's waiting for something to be able to rise up again. For now, it's not easy to be optimistic, but doesn't say it's gone altogether.
Okay, thanks for that. Our international affairs commentator, Doug Herbert. Thank you.